And with that said, I want to introduce my guest this second hour, my very first guest for this second hour. And of course, do remember that in just a short while, we're going to be bringing you the reveal of our makeover segment. Every Friday now, we're having a makeover segment for you guys, the viewers. You either get a beauty makeover or a fashion and style makeover. And my guest for the day is Viona, and she's getting her makeup done by our resident makeup artist, and I'll be bringing her out in just a few to see what she looks like. And so with that said, here is Alfred Arita, our motivational speaker, to talk with us in our man cave discussion, right? We have a segment just for you men about the single Christian man and how he can embrace a life of purity. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joyce, and a happy new year.
Asante, asante. And same to you, of course. Now, today on the show, we want to talk about purity in men. And in many ways, for a lot of people, those two words almost sound like they don't belong in the same sentence, unfortunately. Yeah. Right? And the reason I say that, not to say that all men are like that, not at all, but just because we've seen sort of this very promiscuous culture being celebrated. It's in our music, it's in our movies, it's in how people carry themselves in the hood, right? It's in all these stories we hear of how many relationships are broken up because someone cheated or someone has how many partners in their lives. And so I guess the first question is, again, we're not generalizing all men because there are good men out there. Yeah. But for those women who have been very severely wounded and hurt by men, and now almost feel that this thing, anyway, I have to give up on it. Is it possible for there to be a good number of men in this country who stay pure?
Yes, I want to begin by saying that it is possible to be pure. And I'll give an example that is given in the Bible about Joseph. Joseph was able to go against the trends and remain pure because he was away from his family. He was a young man, he was single, thrown away by his brothers, stayed in a foreign country, and had a privilege to be in a very beautiful, beautiful home, and had a privilege to sleep with a very powerful woman.
The opportunity.
But he had the opportunity actually. But he said no. Because of 3 C's I want to mention very quickly, even as we lay a foundation on this. He had a conviction that it was a sin against God. That's why he says in Genesis 9, verse 9, that how can I do this, such a sin against God? He had a conviction that it was not just what everyone is doing. It was a sin. And you see, no one would dissuade him from that. And number 2, he had courage. He had a very strong courage to say no. Because I don't even think how many young men today would say no to an opportunity, no. But he was able to do that. And then lastly, he was committed to his purpose and his cause. He was there to serve Potiphar, not as a co-husband.
Yeah.
But as an overseer of his home. And therefore, I want to say that it is possible to be able to stay pure as a young man who is a Christian today.
So how do you think we got to where we are today? Why is it that our culture is the way that it is, where even for those who are married and you committed to stay pure to one person, you find people are running outside of their marriages. So
True.
What are the factors that have contributed to us getting to this point today? That it's things people toast about, in their social gatherings. Like they almost cheer one another for living that lifestyle.
Yeah, it's happening a lot. I was sharing with one of my boys and he told me, you know what, we are in a club of boys and all we discuss is who is your latest catch.
Wow.
And there is this kind of notion that is happening right now where people say Kenya is one big bedroom. So someone you love or you're crushing on could be sleeping with someone else. And therefore it's a very unfortunate kind of trend. And how we got here is because we ran away from what Psalms 119:9 says. How can a young man keep his ways pure? There is no other way. It is by walking according to the commands of God. As long as people don't value those commands and the word of God, this will be the inevitable way of living. So the young people we have today have found themselves in the middle of the trends. Everyone has one or two partners. Everyone is doing this. Everyone is trying a new thing. Everyone has this fantasy they want to actualize in their lives. And therefore, we are increasingly becoming kind of perverted generation. But the
Yeah.
only way we can go back to that culture of Joseph is by having conviction that this is sin.
Yeah.
Promiscuity and sexual immorality is a sin against God.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was, I think, probably the most powerful statement of Joseph's, thing that he said in that statement.
Yeah.
He wasn't just looking at it against, oh, but now what will my mom think?
Yes.
Or what will the king think? He said his first priority was that it was a sin against God. Like everybody else was second to God being upset with him or God being
I can imagine him
disappointed.
saying, he would have said, don't try me. You want me to go to prison? I
Yeah.
came from another country and you want
Right.
to put me into trouble. But you
Yeah.
see him, he was very categorical. I cannot do this. I know I have a chance to do this. And I like to tell young men this. It was possible for him to engage in that activity and no one would know. Potiphar was a busy guy. You have seen in Kenya where we have had politicians who are very busy having issues around their spouses. But then the fact that he was conscious that even as I live here, and I want to believe that the way the Bible describes Potiphar, she was very beautiful. Just
Potiphar's wife.
Potiphar's wife was very beautiful.
Yeah.
And also Joseph is described as a very handsome young man. Can you imagine the two of them and in a very private palace, I want to believe, a very private place. But the young man is conscious, saying, I can't do this. There must have been something in him. He must have had some internal, breaks and some internal compass that tells him, I cannot do this. And that is lacking today.
Yeah. So how does one begin to develop that internal compass?
Well, I believe it begins by first acknowledging that you are not of your own. This body you have, you leave an account. There's one teaching that is lacking in our circles today, stewardship. And when I was growing up, I was taught about that you're not just a steward of the properties that God has given to you, but you're also a steward of the time God has given to you. You are a steward of the treasures God has given to you. You are a steward of the temple, which is your body. And as long as young men don't believe that their body is something they need to take care of, then they'll use it.
Yeah.
You see, your energy should not just be wasted on women. It's supposed to be channeled to something useful in your life. So the first thing we need to do is to acknowledge that this body is God's temple,
Right.
and I need to take care of it.
Yeah.
Once you do that, you be careful what you feed the body. You'll be careful how you exercise for your body, and you will be careful how you use it in terms of, you cannot go sleeping around with everyone else because
Yeah.
it is a sin against yourself, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the truth is these temptations are very strong, eh?
They are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Pia wanawake wajawachilia hata wao wanajitokeza. The men have a lot of trouble.
More than ever, Joyce. It is, and now with social media these days,
Yeah.
it is worse because everyone is beautiful. Have you noticed everyone is so beautiful and handsome on Facebook? Everyone is so great. So, and the virtual space has given us an opportunity to really, very privately, from the comfort of our homes, really connect and just DMs and all that. And without some personal discipline, it will be very impossible for a young man to say no.
Yeah.
This is, I will tell you, as quite a travel speaker, I meet all manner of people. Then I am another of books that I've been giving out for the last 10 years, and those are in thousands. My numbers are in there. So people sometimes will throw messages to me, oh, that was great. You spoke so well. I loved how you dressed. I loved how, and I have learned to receive these things as compliments, not as opportunities to begin to explore, could this be something? So I think personal discipline is something that is important, but I believe it can only come from that consciousness that I want to live my life
Yeah.
to the glory of God. And that's why the Bible says, whatever you do,
Do it as unto the
do it as unto the Lord. Because even when I am trying to chat privately, no one is watching me. I want to be careful. Because sometimes, like now in my house, I realize if my phone is on my tablet or my computer, when you send a message to my messenger, it goes to all. Sometimes everyone has it. So I want to chat something. Even if someone will want to go back, they will say it must have been a chat that was professional or something that is beneficial.
Right.
Yeah.
This journey towards purity, at some point then, once you master your own disciplines, it extends to other people as well. And I guess it's important for us as well to, I think part of purity, especially when it comes from looking at it from a man's perspective, is also to look at how he values women
Absolutely,
and
yes.
how he values their bodies. So maybe you can touch on that, because
Yeah.
purity, it also begins here in the
It does.
mind.
It does.
So you can't say, me, I don't sleep around, so I'm pure. But if you just look at people and your thoughts towards them are complete infatuation, just lustful, then I believe the scriptures support that you have done no different. You've still
In
sinned.
fact, Jesus made it very difficult. He said there were those who were having a discussion about me. I've never slept with nobody. I'm careful. But then he said, it's not about just sleeping. Once you look at a woman lustfully, and
You have
that is
already
where
slept
now
with her in your heart.
the young men of today find themselves in a very difficult place
Yeah.
because of pornography, which is all over the place. And the purpose of pornography is to make sure that even if you're not sleeping with someone, literally, you are actually lasting and looking after their bodies. And I'll tell you, really, I agree that part of the purity should not be just personal, but how you extend it to the others. How do you look at women? It's so unfortunate that we have come to a point where we hear women talking about being groped. We have heard of women being touched inappropriately in public places because the mind has been so perverted and really messed up that when a man sees a woman, all they see is what do they make? How would they be like? Which is so sad. And therefore, the first discipline really should be mental discipline. It should be up here. And that's why I tell young men, you cannot avoid the first look.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can. If you're in the streets and someone just passes, you may not. But a second look is very deliberate. It is. You can see, but when you now begin seeing, and it's very common when you drive around, you see a man would literally turn and just look at completely, and you're like, you can now begin to imagine what he's going through.
Yeah.
And some would even take this girl from the street and just take in their mind, and finish the whole thing, and then become the victims of what Jesus said. You have already sinned. So you might be here saying, I don't sleep around, but in your mind you do a lot of sleeping. So if you want to really guard like Joseph, you need to first deal with your mind and be careful and know that women also, by the way, let me tell you, Joyce, most men don't know this. Most women, even as they dress, not very many women I have come to know are out to tempt men. Men love to say it that way. Look at how the women are dressed. They tempt us a lot. When I speak to the university students, they tell me, it is these girls who are messing us up. I was a good boy when I came in here. But the girls here, the way they're dressed is really so tempting. I say, no. Don't allow the way the girls are dressed. Because the truth is, no one will stop how people choose to dress and how to do.
It's about you,
It
your
is
own
about
discipline.
you and your discipline.
Yeah, because people who say that also use it to justify things like rape
that's
or
what they
groping or anything else.
I was just dealing with that case the other day.
No one held a gun to your head and forced you to
Nobody.
look.
Of course, I agree to some extent, Joyce, that there is a way in which we have dressed extremely. And it's not even our problem. The fashion industry has known how to cash in through bringing all manner of clothes and all these things that expose the bodies and everything. But then it is imperative for the men to be able to know that this is not going to stop soon. But what you can stop is what you allow to keep on thinking. Keep on thinking. Why we have a lot of masturbation today is because of uncontrolled minds. People cannot be able to control the way they think, uncontrolled thinking. Someone is thinking about some girl they saw somewhere until they find manipulating their own bodies. You understand? And therefore, that appreciation that these women are made in the image of God, I look forward to a time when young men will begin to look at a woman and appreciate God. And just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I look forward to a time when hugs will be holy. A holy kiss, the Bible says. We don't have that. This is what we see in the streets. Is not even the hugs are so telling. You can tell someone is struggling. They wish the hug would be extend more.
Yeah.
But you see, it's possible to hug a lady by appreciating her and not feeling like I wish.
Right.
That's where we go wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
I want you to talk to the young men who would really like to be on this journey of purity, but they have struggled. They've made mistakes. They've fallen down many times. Perhaps even there are things that they've done that have hurt the women in their lives or other women, or that they're just absolutely ashamed to talk about. The great thing about the gospel is that there's always this story of redemption.
Of redemption, that's right.
Like there's
Yeah.
always a second chance under God's grace. But our minds, of course, and we still have to deal with consequences. So I want you to talk to those who are hearing what you're saying and they really, really want to get there, but they are being held back by the weight of either things they have done before, things they have not let go of, or that are still in their lives that they need to let go of, and those kinds of experiences.
I think this is the very best time to think about it. It's January, the year is very fresh. We are just beginning. And yesterday I was in a media house at night. We were discussing about planning, the power of planning, how to plan your year, and some of the areas you need to be able to focus on if you want change by the end of the year. And then one of the areas we were talking about is I was giving people about 7 pillars that are very important, or 7 components that you need to have a balanced life. And one of them is the social aspect, your relationships with your family, with your siblings, with your neighbors, with the opposite sex. How do you build healthy relationships? And I will begin by saying this: it is possible for any young man listening to us to know that you can actually live pure. That's what I want to begin by saying. And having said that, there is a process in which this can be done. When I grew up, I was lucky to have found a mentor who taught me about spiritual disciplines, things that you engage on a day-to-day basis that help you to focus. And one of those things that I learned early was studying the Word of God. It will not change the fact that you are still human and you still fail. You still be attracted to the opposite sex. But it will give you some discipline to know that it's normal to feel this way. But then there is obeying the command, which we have read already from, as we found in Psalms 119, verse 9, by walking in accordance to the word. So the first thing is, if the young man can begin this year by taking the word of God seriously. These days, there's a way in which, there's a sense in which this word has become really kawaida. And there's a lot of questioning, actually. People have questioning. Are you sure this word is God's word? Are you sure the Bible is true? Those are the kind of, in a relative world, that's how people are looking at it.
Yeah.
But the truth is, and I would say as a conservative, I'm a bit conservative when it comes to the word. I believe that if someone walks in obedience to the word, that would be the first way to overcome any temptations.
All right.
And I'll give you an example of David. If there are those who have already done it, there's a God who gives a second chance. I love David because of his attitude.
Yeah.
David was the kind of guy who loved God passionately.
Yeah.
But also within a click of a moment, he would still lust and fall.
Yeah.
But again, why God says he's a man after my own heart, it's not because of the way he was pure and he never... The thing about David, he never faked perfection. He
Yeah.
admitted.
Yeah.
So if there's someone who has already committed and broken some girls out there, don't sit there in depression. You can actually decide to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
And forgive yourself for your past and decide that from now onwards,
You're gonna be different.
I'm going to be different.
Yeah. And that's the other truth about it too, that you're not the first person to be tempted in this world. Everybody has some sort of challenge that they're facing, some sort of temptation that they're going through. And these temptations also hit us in the areas where we are weakest. So you also need to pay attention. Some people are just tempted by money. Like, is it that, you have that temptation ya kuiba? You need to ask yourself, what is money in your life? Do you idolize it that much? Or if it's about relationships, that whatever walks before you, suddenly you're fantasizing about it, you need to ask yourself, what do relationships mean to you? What does, sexual intimacy mean to you that it can drive, you to think that way? Because at the end of the day, you're not the first person to be tempted. And so it's not an excuse to say that, this is the way I am and I can't be helped and whatnot. No. You can always pull yourself out and get yourself into where you want to be.
I'll give you an example before you
Very
move to the next
briefly.
point. I have a daughter now, 12 years. She's off to boarding. And sometimes we walk with her to the supermarket and I'll tell her, go pick that. And then she comes and tells me, Daddy, that man is telling me hi. You see, now we are very close. And then in school she tells me, there's a boy who has told me, I love you. You see, and I've been training her to know that it's not going to stop soon.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to help it. What I've been trying to inculcate in her is to be able to know, to get comfortable with people who say, hi, you're so beautiful. Just say thank you and move on.
Yeah.
Because what happens also, our girls were trained to feel like any compliment or anyone who says you're beautiful is like an abuse.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, honestly, Joy, someone will tell you you're beautiful. There's nothing wrong about it. The only problem is when I begin to pursue. Even when you're trying to explain, excuse me, I'm Joyce, I'm married, and then they begin to pursue. But if they only appreciate that, I don't see where there's a problem.
So tutulie.
Yeah. You need to ladies should know that when people say you are beautiful, there's nothing wrong about it. By the way, the culture upon which we have grown has made women to feel, and I had Miss Africa say about confidence. How our confidence has been destroyed is because we never learned to take compliments.
Yeah.
You tell a Mzungu lady you are beautiful, she say, "Well, thanks, thank you so much," and that is it.
Yeah.
But you tell an African, she will doubt. Are you sure? Are you for real?
True.
So,
Okay.
so I think it's important for girls to know that we live in. There is no planet for women and there's no planet for men. We have to learn to live together.
Right.
Yes.
Na tukisema from today we are accepting your compliments, muyache hapo.
Ishi
Msianze
hapo.
stories zingine.
Yeah.
Sindio?
I'm sure you have seen guys on your who come DM and say, you know, Joyce, you're great, and before you know, they're just extending.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Thank you so much, Alfred, for coming through to the show. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
That has been our Man Cave discussion today, talking about single men, Christian men, and this journey to purity. And we've heard certainly it is absolutely possible, particularly if you say like Joseph, you do not want to sin, not even against the person or your mother or your pastor, but against God.
I hope they remember the 3 C's.
Yeah,
The conviction in the Lord.
yeah.
The courage.
Courage.
The courage in the Lord. Having courage that I can actually say no, and
Yes.
it will not be unusual. And then lastly, the commitment. Commitment.
Yeah.
It's your body. You don't have another body. So take care of your body to serve you to achieve your dreams.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to take a break now. And when we come back, we're going to be bringing you the world in pictures. And as well, I will be bringing back our model, our guest model for the day. She's a viewer who texted in saying she wants a makeover. And I introduced her to you at the beginning of the show at 8. And she is just about ready. She's going to be here in just a bit. Stay tuned.